This is one of the many press conferences that were happening. It had to be held outside in front of the White House. The journalists had to be spaced 6 feet apart. Annie was lucky enough to get together with Maddie over quarantine. Maddie's mom has a compromised immune system, so they had to take precautions by sitting across from each other. We had weekly Zoom meetings with our family. Zoom is an online program that allows virtual meetings. Easter also happened to fall during the coronavirus pandemic, and during this picture, we are having church over quarantine. Here, me and Annie are posing for a picture over Easter. We're holding our Easter baskets, and Annie is making a silly face. Updates on COVID-19 were made daily. Here's a picture of our mayor giving an update. Google also provided this map of the United States and the world. It showed how COVID-19 was impacting countries and states. Here's Annie doing a virtual hangout with her friends over Zoom.
An often packed intersection is completely clear due to the little people out from COVID. All sports were canceled, and to continue dance, Kate had to take online Zoom classes. She was dancing 4 out of the 5 days a week, and this allowed us to frequently watch her and be entertained by her cool moves.
Mom also had to teach virtually. Here's a picture of her doing it with her class. It was funny hearing what all her students had to say. And since only essential businesses were allowed, you couldn't get your hair cut. So, this is a before and after of Dad. You can see that he started quarantine with his hair neatly trimmed and ended it rather poofy and wild. We saw this as we were driving by Crown Walk. It's a little tent set up selling coronavirus supplies. This was posted outside my old elementary school, Welby Way. It has safety procedures to follow during COVID-19. Because of the coronavirus, we also had to stop holding Girl Scout meetings. So we decided to do a 6 feet apart hike. Here's a sign posted outside of the hiking trails. It states the rules and regulations that you have to follow when you're hiking. Mom found this on the internet. It's in Germany, and it's of Burger King. They have these giant crowns that they have customers wear to ensure that they stay 6 feet apart. Since we were still in quarantine for Annie's birthday, we had a drive-by birthday party. As you can see, people came by with gifts and signs. They passed out popsicles. It was super fun, and we had a great time. It was certainly a birthday to remember. This is a picture of us doing a Zoom with Grammy for Annie's birthday.
Today we visited the 5th grade Welby Way graduation on our bikes. These are some of the posters they hung up. Instead of having an official graduation, parents made posters for their kids, put them on the fence. For graduation, parents and kids drove by in decorated cars. They received their diplomas, and as they drove by, aides and teachers cheered them on. It was a fun way to celebrate, despite not being able to have a traditional ceremony. Both elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools all provided their graduates with signs to put in their yards to announce their success and graduating status.
Dear future students, peers, and friends, this year is one to remember. I suppose we had it coming with the whole 2020 thing, and this year hasn't had a dull moment. It seems as though anything could happen now. I guess I should first explain how this year began. The new year started with a big bang. Our president, Donald Trump, was being impeached, and Australia was on fire. Seriously, all of Australia was on fire. You would think that the next month would be calmer compared to what had happened in January. Nope. Known as the best basketball player to some, Kobe Bean Bryant died in a helicopter crash. He was buried on February 7th, and millions of people mourned his death. But that was not all. Have you ever heard of the coronavirus or COVID-19? We had never heard of this virus before, and we didn't have a cure. Well, it arrived in March 2020, and boy, did it make itself known. Practically the whole world was shut down in April. Only essential businesses were allowed. 6 feet apart rules were implemented, and stay-at-home orders were enforced. This meant that schools were closed too. We had to do distance learning, where you learn on a computer from home. So now that the coronavirus was established, people began to get antsy. Staying at home all day, every day, was beginning to affect people. People started to protest against the stay-at-home orders. People were done and over COVID-19, but officials were not. The anti-coronavirus protests were soon forgotten when the BLM, Black Lives Matter movement, took off in June. Lootings and riots broke out across the nation. It was absolute madness. This affected the many businesses that were starting to reopen. Now, businesses were threatened once again, but with looters. Fortunately, things began to calm down. Now, peaceful protests were held daily, and looting became less and less relevant. Now, it's the last day of school, and I cannot help but think, as I'm looking back on this year, how crazy and monumental it has been. Sincerely, Kate Elizabeth Hoke, 12 3/4 years old.